it's definitely going to take some time to fully drip down to where I sit in the corporate structure.
Okay, yeah. Anybody that Henk, I'm looking at you now right now. I bet you answered yes.
Yeah, and I have to admit that I'm here with a colleague, with Meredith, and we disagreed on the yes.
Ah, that's interesting.
Because I said yeah, and it's linked to our corporate strategy. Although in the official strategy we are not explicitly mentioned. So
Okay, the other way around. But you're trying to sort of, with innovation, you're trying to aim for the goals that fit also to what your entire company is aiming for.
yeah, that's the interesting part. That's why I said yes, because we have a place, we have our little innovation group, which is very cool and very nice and very successful from my point of view. However, our corporate strategy does not say, and for these and these goals we use our innovation group.
Yeah.
But the EXP said, well, for the crazy shit on the horizon, we use this innovation group on the, well, let's say verbally, not in written. And of course, we are aiming towards the same goals. I mean, we can only get money for the official goals in the strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And Meredith, why did you? Because I think then you answered yes, but not linked to the strategy.
Yeah, I feel that our team has a good strategy of how we want to work and how we are innovative, but it doesn't always feel like it connects to the overall corporate strategy. And it's kind of goes into the second question, is that I don't think our company has a good definition of innovation. I think our team has a great definition of innovation, and we really think about like different innovation horizons and how that affects our business. But I don't think the company thinks that way. And we also have lots of other little teams with the word innovation in them, which I think that's just maybe to make people feel like they're doing something innovation, but is it really innovative? I don't necessarily think those other teams are innovative.
And do you get feedback on that from employees? I can imagine that if that definition, for instance, is not there, that do they feel lost due to that, or is it actually freeing in a way?
A little bit of both. I think some people like the openness. I know, like we do. We like the green field that we can go after. But I think other folks like structure and boundaries to work within. And so I think if you're not comfortable yet with a lot of innovation work, which tends to not have structure or as much structure, then you may be uncomfortable doing innovation work in general.
Yeah.
And so it makes it hard for people to feel involved.
And would it matter, because you spoke about the 3 horizons, maybe in short, horizon 1, well, let's separate between sort of incremental continuous innovation and really the radical disruptive innovation. Do you think that differs, so that need for an innovation definition or strategy?
For sure, as far as at least internally, to decide who owns what, like what processes and what types of projects and things like that. I feel like Horizon 1, fairly incremental innovation, is something that the main business should do. And H3 true crazy ideas is something more that our team should be doing.
Yeah.
Not just because I like it, but because that's what our team was tasked with doing.
Yeah. And do you see that those teams work together? Because they're all labeled innovation?
Yes and no. I think we do work together well because we are a company that really feels strongly, I think, about like stakeholder relationships, even internally. So I think we put a lot of value on that. But I don't necessarily think that all of our innovation strategies are linked to each other, or we're necessarily aware of what everybody is doing and how we may be able to help each other or get out of each other's way.
Is there anybody who could contribute to that? To any experience maybe, or other setups at your companies where you do see that that there is more maybe definition or structured guidance between those teams?
If I just could say,
Oh, yeah.
Hello everybody, hello Rule. What Meredith just said before, this is would be quite interesting when she said there are different teams which are really innovative, but not every team knows what's going on in another one. And I just asked me why this could be that way, that each team works for its own, because this I saw also in other companies, that there was just only the information, we must be more innovative, but there was no idea how to do it. And you are already innovative, but every team for on its own. And maybe you, Meredith, you just could let us know why it happens that each team works for its own. This would be quite interesting to know, if I'm allowed to ask this.
Sure, absolutely.
Sure. I'm not sure what the answer is. Hank, you're on my team. What do you think?
I can give a very provocative answer, because you out there, you have no idea about my specific cup of tea. This is my cup of tea, and I'm not going to share it because I'm the only specialist of cups of tea. Okay, also coffee today. We are a highly siloed and very structured company, because we are a breeding company, and we've been breeding for different crops for over a century. So the company is a bit fragmented.
Good.
People
And it's
tend
always,
to fun.
then it's always the same question.
It's always the same, and it is also, we are the only team that has the official worldwide mandate to do crazy stuff, and the other teams are kind of doing it in their own, on their own turf, in their own environment. And the tougher times get, since we can maybe agree that times get tougher, the harder it is to get resources to be innovative. So you tend to hide it more and more, and you tend to restrict yourself on your own little thingies, because that's where you can justify it, to be crazy and innovative. However, this is absolutely not desirable. I think we can all agree on that. This is now.
Any tips for Henk and Meredith, maybe, from the others? I see a Leo popping up all of a sudden. I'm not sure. Did you want to contribute something, Leo?
I'm good right now.
Eugene speaking up or waving his hand.
Or just instead of...
Who did you say, Henk?
I saw Eugene Ivanov.
Oh, that could be. Eugene, anything to add from maybe strategic, more high-level advice here?
Sorry for it.
I'm not sure if...
I'm also not sure if he's still there.
But, all right.
Go ahead.
Just the name, Hank. You ask any advice. I have again another question, if I can ask you. But how is then the involvement of the whole management normally? I think it's always the same thing. The management must stand behind this or not. And if not, then it's a little bit difficult.
Exactly. I mean,
Good.
this is why our innovation group is able to pop out of the fork or shadow or whatever, because we have the official mandate to do so.
Yeah.
And I would say, in my experience, I mean, at least the fact that we know about the other groups and that we know they are doing innovative thingies is already helping, because then you can map out. Then when I know, okay, we have the workshop doing innovative construction methods, then I can be proactive and go out there and talk to them and say, look, Jochen, you're the head of the workshop. I know you're working on innovative construction thingies. So what are you working on? Can I support you? Do you have some cool ideas I could work on? So I think having the official mandate gives us not only the option, but also the other mandate to reach out to the other groups. However, it's not always easy. Artists will for sure agree on that, I guess.
But almost like a connector then.
Yes.
Yeah. Eugene, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I have a question for Meredith and or Hank. What is the highest level of a position of a person on a senior leadership team that's that intimately involved in your innovation activity?
So
I
we
don't need, but what is kind of the highest level of position that you can talk to? Sorry, that you can talk to about your problems. Does it go as high as C-suite?
It does go as high as the C-suite or the EXP. So the leader of our innovation team reports to our executive board, but through our finance person in EXP. So it's perhaps a weird thing in the company, a weird seat in the company. But yes, we do have high level support. I don't think it's visible enough, personally, either internally or externally. But we do have that support, at least in name only. Hank, did you want to add anything to that?
No. Nothing to add to that.
I think it's a very interesting question. Thanks, Eugene. And I think that will also, by the way, quite impact how your program works. Also, definitely depending on what types of innovations you're looking at. I would highly recommend this book, Zone to Win. I will share it afterwards. Zone to Win is a book by Jeffrey Moore, and he describes to sort of split your company in 4 zones, where one zone is just looking at current operations, executing current operations. One zone is looking at improving those current operations, so efficiencies, cost savings, those kinds of things. One zone is looking at incubating radical ideas, and only if one of those incubation projects, is validated, makes sense, should be turned into reality, then the 4th zone comes into play. And that 4th zone can only be led by the CEO, because the CEO is the only one who can say, yes, we're going to give this new idea preference. And yes, that might impact this other product line. Sorry for that. And once that 4th zone has sort of achieved implementation, that project becomes a project line in the first zone that I explained, and zone 4 goes dormant again. I really like that style because you make a distinction between incremental and radical innovation, which is very different and will probably also require different people to be involved with. and it gives a very clear guidance in how to also, make sure that it's led by the right people and how you implement it. So I'm going to share it afterwards. Very big tip for me. Then let's move on to the second process.
Rob,
Oh, yes.
sorry, I
Sorry.
had to take a call, so I couldn't
Oh.
comment earlier. One thing I've found is that with our senior leadership team, what I'm doing is organizing a innovation mindset awareness training for them.
Yeah.
So the idea behind that is if they understand the reason behind innovation, if they understand the sort of needs, value, scale, when we look at innovation, that they can filter that down within their functions. And then for me, they, in terms of where they stand on the stakeholder analysis, they become more advocates.
Yeah.
And that's the right place where you want to have advocates. So I'm experimenting now. I'm going to do this training with them tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So it will be interesting to see how it goes. And, maybe it might be helpful for others to think about it as well, because we're trying to take a bit of a top down and then bottom up approach so that we get to everyone as it's part of the sort of transformational plan that we have for the business.
Very nice. And tomorrow is going to be your first time.
Yes, it's going to be the pilot.
Exciting. Well,
Right.
good luck, and let me/us know, because I think a lot of people might be interested in finding out learnings and the feedback that you got.
Oh, definitely. We're going to take them through problem framing and, a whole, load of different value chain mapping and that sort of thing, so that they get stuck into it and they can see what other people within the business have to do when they are innovating.
Yep.
So once they have the feel for that, hopefully the idea is they understand it a bit better, so they support it a bit more.
Very good. Well, great addition. Thanks for that, Michelle.
No problem.
Previous time I think already showcased a little bit about how we look at innovation. In a way, I could say that innovation is creativity plus implementation. A bit more detailed, you could say that it's design, develop, deliver, where you have a design phase to identify the problem and source solutions, a development phase to create prototypes and test your assumptions, and of course a delivery phase to implement those projects. And there are, for if you look at it in these three phases, I think there are leading theories in these spaces. Design thinking for design, where can you empathize with end users, you define the problem statement and you ideate. Then the lean startup, where you actually iterate on build, measure, learn. So you build a very small minimum viable product, you measure how potential end users react to that, you learn from those interactions, and then you decide to build a new version, stop the whole program, or move over to implementation, which will never happen after one cycle, I guess. And then implementation is agile or maybe even waterfall still. But I think those are the sort of leading theories if you look at it. Like I said, and what you've seen behind me is our canvas, where we have actually implemented these mainly two, so design thinking and lean startup, into an approach to prepare your innovation efforts, where we feel that problem definition and goal setting, but also the follow-up, so the succession of your ideation activities, is very important. I think you've all heard it, where people say, a lot of post-its were created, but nothing happened afterwards. Well, I would hate it if people say that about our sessions in a way, and it doesn't bring you value. It keeps you busy for quite a while, and then you don't have any outcome. So that will also, by the way, Michelle, to your point, also not keep your C-levels advocates for a long time if you don't showcase outcomes of your innovation effort. And eventually you could be looking at a funnel like this. This is how we defined it, but I can imagine that your companies also defined innovation funnels. So how are we coming from a certain problem, or even just the identification of a problem or a trend, to an implemented or deployed um, innovation or project? And I want to test your situation again with a little poll. Again, 2 questions. First one, do you have an innovation funnel process defined? Where you can choose between no and then yes for all innovation types, which would be one standard innovation process for everything, or maybe specific versions for different innovation types and ambitions. I'm saying types and ambitions, by the way, so I look at the 10 types of innovation, that model that you might know. So you can have product innovation and process innovation. Well, maybe you want to have a different funnel defined for that, and ambitions is more in line with the horizons, so incremental innovations or radical innovations. And I can imagine a different funnel process for that. And then the second one, and that comes back a little bit to what I ended with previous time. Do you have agreements in place to link your front and back end of innovation? So how are you making sure that the things that you come up with in the front end are actually executed once defined? And then please submit your answers. Okay, 30 seconds. Okay, I will put the poll results in the chat again. And then let's have a little chat. I think Hank and Meredith can have a nice discussion again. You again chose for different yeses. But let's go to the group discussion. First one, the innovation process. And Mary, would you maybe like to add something? You said that you have one innovation process for all types and ambitions. Is there anything that you can add to that?
Sorry, I had problems with unmuting.
No worries.
So, yes, we are living one innovation process. We defined it for our company. It's a digital one. I mean, it's supported by software, Bima, actually, Finnish providers. You know them, maybe.
Yep.
And yeah, and it's the same process for each type of idea. And it's a bit kind of a stage gate process because there are decisions involved from management side. So the ideas have to pass a few stages. But for us, for the moment, it's fine because we rather recently started with this process. And for now, it works very well. And for the other question, I actually was not sure.
Just to follow up, are you managing incremental innovations and radical innovation in that same process?
Yes. What did we do? I guess we separated them in categories.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. We have a separate category, which is rather for disruptive and radical innovation, but also I have to say we first need to very implement practically these incremental innovations in order to be able to get to the more radical ones. And the more radical ones we soon will try to tackle with idea campaigns. For now, it's rather information.
And the Vima system is more set up like a idea box, like a general pool for
You
ideas.
can say it
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second one was about agreements in place between the front and the back end to make sure that it's.
Yeah, and I was
gets
not sure what
implemented.
you mean.
Yeah, what I
Front
meant
and back end.
sorry that I did. What I meant is the front end is more sort of the creative part, so the design thinking and lean startup phase, and the back end is more the implementation phase. And a common complaint about innovation is that it just results into ideas and no actual implementation. So that's why I want to ask it.
We have the one part in our process is the part implementation. So if ideas have passed these decision phase, then they go into implementation for sure. I mean, first project plan and then implementation. Not every idea comes into implementation for sure. And but what is missing is this step of mutual or joint brainstorming, because sometimes I think ideas could be improved better with such methods, creative methods, before going into project plan phase. This is a bit missing.
Interesting.
No.
Is there maybe, well, I know the team Henk Meredith, you're probably recognizing that, but others, if they want to add, of course, any tips that you have for Mary?
Hello.
No?
Have you thought about removing stage gates?
Removing?
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that helps things move a little bit faster and with less oversight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a very good point. I'm also always for pro removing barriers, but I think for our organization it's difficult because they need to understand what ideas get budget and which not, and that's why.
What is
the
is the outcome of a gate? Is it only yes and no, or can it also be yes but first, or no until? Because if it, you said it yourself, right? That maybe sometimes ideas need to get a bit more discussion around the idea to grow them and to make them a bit more sort of realistic, I would say. Well, maybe until they would get a no in that gate. Even though it might be that, for now, no, but if we know this assumption or if we know this need exists, then we might want to continue. Something you recognize or not?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of meetings or brainstormings to improve an idea, they would increase the potential of a yes for an idea. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's something I know we have to work on this. What's the right vocabulary? That this process of joint brainstorming has to be also part of the process.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, and I think if you start running these more sort of ideation campaigns, that will probably become part of that. So maybe that's a way to sort of start that as well. Great, Florian. I think you were about to say something. I was already.
Yes. Just also a question again a question for Maria. When you are preparing a workshop for creating ideas or thinking about the workshop, do you also link this with the innovation strategy? Because when the question which Roel had before about the innovation strategy, for example, you have an innovation strategy and now you come up, yes, we know where to go, or we know more or less where to go, and now we need ideas. And when you prepare a workshop in that direction, that you say, good, this is the overall strategy, but I take out just a certain part of it, and now we think only about this. Then you help your employees in finding, or you give them the theme to think about exactly this and not any other things around the world. And then I think you could get much more precise ideas and also much faster. And then afterwards, it's again, of course, on the whole evaluation, but this is afterwards another theme. But just creating ideas, maybe this could help you.
Yeah, so having this specific question about the specific challenge about which you need to brainstorm, right?
Or in which branch do you work?
It's IT development and consulting. So partnerships with Microsoft and SAP and different digitalization topics for other companies.
Then maybe you have, this is now stupid what I say, but just as an example, for example, in your strategy, you would have creating any new software for, I don't know really, but this would be now written, or just to make it more helpful for your customers or easier to use or whatever. This would be in your strategy, and then maybe you would think about API connection, or you would think about new user interfaces or whatever, and then you have certain themes to think about in a idea creation workshop. For example, this is stupid idea.
No, it's not.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay. We're gonna move to the third P for now. Again, I understand that we can talk, I think, at least a whole session about each P. We might do that in the future, but for now we have to stick to the timing a little bit. Place. Like I say, the area where you innovate, but see this quite broad again, because that could be like leisure creative sessions. You were just talking about it, Mary. Running creative sessions to source ideas from your employees or from customers. Maybe you have certain software in place. Well, I'm working with various platform providers, but there are loads more. Mary, you were using Vima. There's Spigot. There's all Planbox. There are all kinds of ways to run this. And on top of these dedicated software providers, you also have collaborative software like Miro or maybe Teams. And I've also seen people using that software to support their innovation processes. Or maybe you want to launch an innovation lab. Well, this was the innovation lab at Liberty Global, where we actually work together with technical students from the Technical University. So this was really aimed at creating radical innovations as a separate thing to our program. But you often see also these innovation labs as more collaborative space. You also see that PR exercise, unfortunately.
Het is nog steeds niet helemaal duidelijk hoe de fases nou precies heten. Is de eerste fase dan Energizer en voorstellen en is de tweede dan brainstorm? Derde selectie en dan uitvoering. Maar uitvoering.
Realisatie. I'm just gonna mute Michiel, if you don't mind. Often, I think, and with some of the people here in the call, we had a discussion on LinkedIn already. It's often sort of like sort of a showcase, like window dressing, and not really resulting into anything. I just want to showcase you one thing I'm actually working on at the moment. Like I said in the introduction, we're actually building an innovation lab at the moment. So, well, way more execution than a training. But what I want to showcase here is, I don't want to create those innovation labs that are just there for nice pictures. So we really made sure that there's this place where, yes, people are sort of hopefully intrinsically motivated to go to, so that we break down silos, because that was one of the goals. But then people can actually physically walk through the process and execute that process, empathize with users, prototype their ideas, and validate it with end users. So there is, I think, real value still in those labs. But let's see how you are thinking about this. So again, a little poll, 3 questions this time, in line with the 3 places I showed. So are you organizing sessions to support your people to innovate? And that question is, by the way, you can choose multiple answers. So you can go for no or for yes, explorative sessions to identify trends. I think that can also be a very nice starting point of ideation. Creative sessions to source ideas, maybe prototyping sessions to build MVPs, or other sessions. Would you like to hear about that? Are you using specific software to engage your people with innovation? No. Yes. And then using collaboration software, again, a non-dedicated innovation management software, I would say there. Or do you have dedicated innovation management software like QMarket's Hype, Bright Idea, Vima, what else there is? And finally, I was wondering, do you have an innovation lab? Okay. 30 seconds. Please click submit as well at the end. So it's in the chat again. Let's have a little talk about it. Who didn't we hear yet? Graham, can you say anything about sessions that you're organizing, maybe? And I'm gonna say bye to everybody that has to leave at the top of the hour. We'll just continue the discussion. For everybody that cannot see the end, we will share the recording afterwards. So hopefully it will still be valuable to you.
Hi, Rob. So I'm not actually involved in my company's innovation process. I'm kind of observing it from the outside. But we use the Hype innovation platform. I think that was similar to what Liberty Global used to use as well. And our program is targeted at the product managers and the engineers. Which I guess makes a lot of sense, but it's, from my perspective, I think if a company has a culture of innovation, it should be to everyone in the company and not just a specific segment. But that's my feeling. They have an annual campaign where they collect all the ideas from the product managers and the engineers, and then they have a creative kind of session where the ideas are all discussed and generated, and then they go through the process like that. We don't have an innovation lab, and and maybe we should do. I don't know at the moment. I guess an innovation lab sometimes fits some companies better than others into the innovation process. But from my company, that's where we're at the moment.
Okay, cool. And also looking at it from a sort of a spectator in your company, would you like to see more of those places in general? Of course, you have then this online platform, but does that support you sufficiently? Or would you like to be able to go to a lab or to a session to be more supported in your innovation efforts?
Well, again, to just put a little bit more context into my personal situation. So I'm a sales director for our company based in the UK.
Yeah.
And I strongly believe that when we're looking at creative ideas and innovation that's going to impact our products and solutions, there should be a connection from that process back to the customer, the user of those. And in all these cases, it's the customer facing, it's the sales team who have the biggest relationships with the customers. And I'm a big advocate of having the sales and customer facing people part of the innovation process. In my company at the moment, they're not part of it, and I think they're missing. I think they're missing a vital component of it.
Well, like you say, they are almost they can talk for the customer. So I agree. I would say that there's an enormous valuable impact for your innovation. Maybe not to find the answers, but at least to identify issues.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the ideas and the creative thoughts that the product managers and the engineers have are bad. They come up with some great ideas, but the ideas that they come up with should be aligned with the customer needs.
Yes, absolutely. No, and that's sort of that you could sort of involve them in this sort of validation step. Hey, does this make sense? Does this development make sense? But what we also did at Liberty Global, or at least obviously at the customer-facing brands, was allow the sales and customer service staff to submit ideas in open channels. That's not my biggest. I don't see the biggest value coming out of that if you're really looking at solutions. However, if 10 customer service employees told me, hey, there's something wrong with this process, we could look at that process and start innovating that. So I saw them, well, maybe also as trend scouts almost, in a way, for your, internal happenings or
exactly. And even if we expanded the current process we have today, customer facing people could be part of the product or engineering teams, innovation teams, to have that voice into the project.
Absolutely. No, I've it's often quite scary.
I've taken you down another route here.
No. It's quite interesting actually.
That's the context of where I'm at.
Yeah, no, but thanks for the info, and I get your point. And innovating with your real customers is often quite scary, and I would also advise you to only do that when you're really sort of certain about your process. But like you say, customer-facing stuff can often act like a consumer.
Well, I'm a big advocate for the innovation process, and I'm trying to expand it internally in my company. And in actual fact, 2 or 3 years ago, when you were still at Liberty Global, I was trying to get my company and Liberty Global to have a joint innovation process around some work we were doing together. But unfortunately, it didn't get off the ground.
Well, I'm still very close with my successor, Sarah Kelly. You might know her already, but I'm happy to do the introductions.
Yeah, maybe another time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks. I just want to get a little bit of feeling about your views on innovation labs, and maybe Henk and Meredith. How do you look at that? Because you have like you said, you are breeding, you're a breeding company. I can imagine that your development process takes quite a while. That's not like changing a little step in the process, changing a button in software. It takes a while before you know this actually works. Do you do that, or is that just is that innovation lab in this sense sort of almost common ground for you?
So I said no, thinking of Innovation Lab as a particular physical space set up specifically for innovation. So I said no. I think our team is like a non-physical innovation lab within our brains and the way we work together. And yes, in plant breeding, there is often some innovation that may have started several years ago and is still going through some process right now to be validated as useful in plant breeding. Those types of innovations are what we would consider incremental innovations because they are based on our main product and what we already do are their Horizon 1 innovations. Whereas our team is generally looking more for like new business models, maybe things the company's never done before, products or services that maybe we've never offered before, things like that. That is for us what true innovation is.
No, that's quite funny that you say it, because maybe we briefly addressed it at the innovation definition. Sometimes there's this effort to find a global definition for innovation, which I think is impossible almost. But even now you say this is quite interesting, because I think developing a new paprika is for most companies feels like radical, which is sort of incremental for you guys.
And that circles also back to what Florian and I chatted about in the beginning, because there are a lot of groups out there in the company that do H1 level innovation on a day-to-day basis, like the breeders. I mean, as you said, a new corn variety, big deal. We do dozens. They come a dozen per year. And what we do is the crazy thing. And for this innovation lab, in our heads, Meredith, you're right. I mean, we started out going to Microsoft and some crazy spaces, which is cool. I mean, you can lay down while you think, or sit in a crazy chair, or in a bubble bath, or ball bath, or whatever. The important thing is to get yourself into the mind frame of being creative, of putting people at ease. That's why we also do these trainings or meetings for idea sourcing and new business ideas, or collecting ideas, to make people familiar with the process of how the heck am I creative. We had a lady from communication. That was cool, Meredith. I think I can share that. She told us, well, I have this crazy idea that's never going to work. We just said, okay, spit it out. I want to have a model of the intestines of an animal to show the difference of rye feeding to normal feeding. And we said, yes, there are cameras that the pig would for sure swallow, and take pictures, and here's this needle and software, and we stitch it together, and the only thing we think, it looks icky. The inside of the pig is not a nice place to look at. However, this is what people have to learn, and not to learn, to be comfortable.
Interesting what you say, because you said give them also sort of the feeling that it's get them into that creative vibe, and maybe also, into the safe place. So do you take them out then, sort of to get them really physically out of the corporate environment, or is there like a very fancy greenhouse maybe that people can ideate in?
Yeah, I mean, in the before COVID times, we probably would have done things in person, taken people out of their regular office and tried to we did have some in-person events, or, go visit a cool greenhouse or vertical farming place, things like that. But in COVID world, we do everything virtual, which we're still, I think, quite successful with that anyways. So that requires, creating the virtual safe space, the psychological safe space for them to feel like they can come in and say the ideas or the negative things as well. Because I don't know that we often have that full safe space throughout the whole company.
Yeah.
So,
and that's also more than just a place, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not a physical location alone.
No. And even, I've seen it happen that sometimes on these innovation platforms, senior leaders are saying, what a stupid idea. Yeah, and then that safe haven is gone, sort of.
Yep.
Oh, well, I would say at least Meredith is trained enough to kill that people.
I try to.
Very good. Very good.
You are awesome at that.
Cool.
Nobody should say no. We gotta stop saying no. It's always be yes and.
But what was then your experiences with the idea workshops out of the company? Were the results much better than when you worked inside in the corporate environment, or the results were they completely different when you just went out of the company? And what was the results or your feelings when you worked outside of the company in idea workshops?
Oh, so we would still be working with internal employees, just at a different physical location. Definitely that can get people excited and motivated, especially if they're traveling somewhere they haven't been to before. So I'm in the US, and we had brought some folks from Germany and other parts of Europe over to the US. And for some of them, it was their first time in the US. We took them to a professional baseball game, and they got to see like some of the culture of the US, and also go see some interesting things. And I think that sparks a lot in people when they get to have environments that are different than their current one. I personally do a lot of creative stuff when I'm not working, and I find that my creative mojo or whatever is kind of gone, or not as good as it used to be, because I don't go out as much as I used to. So I think without having that stimulus from all these other ideas and places, your creativity kind of gets stagnated. And so when you're stuck in your physical work environment that you're used to, and maybe some attitude of negativity or difficulty getting your ideas across, I think you can become sheltered, and you don't want to speak those ideas. Whereas we put you in a new place, and it's a new place for everybody, and maybe your facilitator has really made you feel safe and welcome, then you feel like you can say these crazy ideas that maybe you couldn't say at home,
Yeah.
Before we move on, I would like to point out one thing that Meredith and I and the rest of the group have ingrained, and I think this is super important. This is language. We have very few rules in the year. There's one rule. There is no but, and there is no. Because we have a saying. We say, but kills everything that you said before.
Yeah,
there's so many people
is.
out there that say, yes, but. No. Simple thing, simple rule. Yes, I like this idea, and wouldn't it be even cooler if? Or in the worst case, yes, I see your idea, and have you thought about this? No buts allowed.
Very good.
Sounds stupid. It's like hearing these feedback rules for the first time and having to do this the whole weekend on a class. It helps because it really puts, for us it's okay. It would be okay now, I think. However, if you have a new group, then suddenly all these old power games don't work any longer because you break the language to play them.
Yeah, no, I think you have a very valid point, and I think that's, there's even this meme taking the no out of innovation, so that fits well. Although I also believe that it's also the other way around. Saying too early we should implement this, especially when done by senior leaders, is also setting wrong expectations. And I've seen that. And if that happens a few times, but it doesn't get implemented because the idea was just not validated or it was just too early, then people say, yeah, but you're constantly saying we're going to do it and then we don't. And I'm not going to waste my time on this anymore. So I think it's right. It's both not saying no, but it's also not saying yes, actually. I think that comes down to that process discussion. You have to validate that idea properly before you make a real gate decision, I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Florian, we don't have time for that today, Florian. I'm sorry, but Florian has a lot of experience with idea evaluation, so we will talk about that in one of the follow-up sessions.
Now Florian is gone.
He got scared now.
Thank you. Now I just pushed something wrong. No, thank you to all of you for this information and evaluation. No question, and we don't discuss.
No, that's
Graham, but if you allow me, for Graham,
sure.
For finding ideas, have you already thought about the fairs, visiting fairs?
Yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, we do that, like trade shows and things like that.
Because this is so great. This opens normally the mind of the people because you get so many impressions, and this is I made very well really good experiences with fairs.
Yeah, that's a super cool tool because you can talk to new people and you can split up and go with different people and come back and drag somebody to a booth and say, look, you have to talk to that person. Yeah, that's an awesome idea and super tool to do that.
Good.
Nice. Thanks, Florian. We are a little bit over time, but I just want to quickly look at people. Sorry guys. I want to ask you about sort of where does the innovation responsibility lies? Is that on the left side, that lone wolf, that one innovation manager, that most innovation managers did start it out as, by the way, or do you as a company say something like innovation is everybody's job? Or is it something in between? And the second one, are you really, so on top of innovation sessions, are you really teaching your employees innovation? This was our take on what was called Kickbox by Adobe. Maybe you've heard about this is Matchbox then in our case, but maybe you've heard about Adobe's Kickbox. Is a program that they developed to enable their employees to innovate, and they white labeled it. So it's actually available, and it's a very nice program where employees are taught how to innovate. Then they get some time. We gave them half a day per week for 8 weeks long, and they get a little bit of money so that they really become sort of independent innovators, sort of like an entrepreneur within the company. Just want to quickly get your opinions in. Would appreciate if you can do that in a minute. We have a dedicated innovation manager team. Innovation is everyone's job. We educate our people.
I wish you had some sort of responses.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
A little bit.
That's for the discussion. The sort of. And last one, I think that's quite an interesting one. We have targets set for innovation. Also that we can have, well, at least 2 roundtables about, I guess. But do you have like KPIs, OKRs, or whatever fancy title you give it? But do people have targets? Or is it just on current business?
That's a tough question.
No, we are not with so many anymore, so I'm just gonna. Or is there the 5th one? Not sure who didn't.
It's you.
No, I did it.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Henk.
It's just
Oh, it's Florian.
Graham, Florian, Meredith.
What
Florian
did I not answer?
is one company show. Like, so that's, I think, a bit hard for you to answer. Maybe Graham, can you add a little bit on your answer about the education that you do in your company?
Well, within, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Within our company, innovation is one of our company strategic pillars. So it has quite a lot high visibility, but there isn't any innovation training that goes with it.
Mm-hmm.
What we have is a yearly, it's called Innovators in Action campaign, and it's targeted, as I said before, at the product teams and the engineering teams. So you know, it's almost like we've taken half a step there. We haven't taken the full step, and you know, for me, I think there's that. Whilst we say it's a strategic pillar, you know, of a company strategy, there's nothing. It's not underpinned in the right way with training, and it doesn't go out to the whole of all of the employees. It just goes out to a section of the employees. So we've taken a step, but it's not the full step.
Yeah. Okay. Any insights from KWS?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, we have an innovation team and people who are dedicated innovation managers. I don't feel that we culturally say that innovation is everyone's job. And as far as I'm aware, it's not linked to any of our bonuses or anything like that. I have worked at companies before where it was, and that was part of what you were expected to do. Like maybe 10% of your time was devoted to that. I haven't seen that here.
Yeah, I can agree that we have some general processes in place. This is only superficial. So
it's like an effort target, if I get it. So it's your time. Yeah.
So,
like the Google. It's not anymore at Google, but the Google model a bit.
No, it is not. So at KWS, it's like everybody is encouraged to be innovative, but it is not. You don't get any bonus. All you get is a sledgehammer, because in German that's Vorschlaghammer.
Yeah.
You get a pat on the head, on the shoulder.
Pat on the back.
That's it. It's even if your innovation leads to a patent, among the 5 of us, it's not worth doing it.
Yeah.
It's people are in this. The general process discourages people from.
No, but I don't. You know, I see that often. So that's happening at many companies, and you know, well, sometime when I have a lot of time available, I really want to investigate this whole innovation target setting, because I think it's very interesting, and I think the lack of it can also really limit innovation. one I wanted to share also because Graham is here still. What I really like about, I think 3M does it. They say that 40% of revenue should come from products that didn't exist 5 years ago.
That's awesome.
That's a target.
Great target.
Yeah, right. That's not like, okay, let's do some brainstorming this afternoon. It's like a set target that has sort of an impact on the bottom line, and I think that will also attract more C-level attention. Then, were you aware of that? That target, Graham?
No, I wasn't. I'm just writing it down now. I think I think it's really good.
It is.
Just to add what I was saying earlier on, the kind of the yearly campaign we do is the winners of that campaign do get a monetary prize, for that, for winning it. It's not a target. It's a prize,
Yeah, okay. And is that for the efforts or for that they really sort of added value to the innovation process?
Well, as they go through the campaign and all the ideas are presented, and I think it's a similar way to what you have done it in the past in Liberty Global. So you kind of narrow down your ideas, and they look at the ideas in terms of feasibility and commercialization, and they narrow it down through a panel, and the winners will, and it's obviously a team of them, get a prize and recognition on the company website, etc.
Yeah. No, I'm looking if I can find the article, but there is actually. Yeah, I think I have it here. I wish I could have done it more intensively, by the way, at Liberty. So there's more to find there. But if you're looking at recognition things, that's a very, very old article, 95 already. But on the jolly for running A, while hoping for B. That's a very interesting read. I will share it in the email afterwards.
That would be cool.
Cool. I'm just gonna skip a few things. Just want to briefly say, is there any B, but again, that can also be a B or a C or an A, that you miss in the 4 Ps? And there are plenty of things that we didn't discuss, like your program branding, whatever software you use, maybe more specifically, etc., etc. But is there like a pillar that you say, well, I'm a bit surprised that you didn't mention that? You're on mute, Meredith.
You're muted.
I would say mindset, but I feel like that is part of all of these things, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think that's something that we should all keep forefront of our mind is mindset. Just being open to new ideas and being open to growth and not being so fixed in how the world should be. I think that's a major thing that affects all of these aspects. But I could see implementing mindset in all 4 of them.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think we didn't mention it like that, but I think somebody did refer to the not invented here syndrome somewhere in this call, where I think also the mindset is quite a limiting factor. Okay, well, we're not going to linger too long. Please, if you have any thoughts on this later on, then let me know in a follow-up email. Just run right off to finish in time still. So, well, if there's any, thanks, first of all. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for sharing your insights. Thanks for the applause, Henk. like I said, I will share, and that will be later this week, but share a link to a page where various materials, the reference to the books, the article, and the recording of this session will be shared. I will also follow up with a survey to get your opinion, and probably extend that one with a specific questions about which I want to do actually during the session, but want to get a little bit of insights into a training I'm considering, and what would have been your preferences. So you will get that over email now. It's already under the resources section, by the way, where you can book a call with me if you would like to have a personal chat. But I will also share that afterwards. So if there's anything you would like to discuss, would like to explore, then you're very welcome to book that at the end. And the last Tuesday, of March, we will again organize a roundtable. And I think, but that might also be questioned in the survey, but my feeling now is to do that around people. And that's A, because I think that interlinks to everything else. B, because I felt that we could talk a little bit longer in this session. But C, some people that left actually joined to participate in the people part. So I want to give them that opportunity still. So we will most likely talk about people specifically and more in depth third Tuesday of March. And well, you're all connected with me on LinkedIn, so you will see the announcement when we're done for registration. Thank you all. Have a great evening or a great day, and we'll be in touch.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye bye.